This is part 2 of Gang Stalkers Frame Nice Moms to a CPS secret court. And in January 2005, I told my mortgage brokers, Regency Brokerage, that I was going to sell and buy in '05. So they knew they'd be doing a loan for me in '05 on a house I bought. In February, I updated the house to sell it. I'd worked on it for 5 years to get it ready to sell and buy another house. I've written 4 offers over the years. And then I bought a house, wrote an offer the middle of May '05. And then I got a swing loan for my 2-story. It was listed for sale March '05. I borrowed the money from it to buy a 1-story house for my mother to live with my daughters and I instead of an elder care that my mom and I had planned in '01. So I got a swing loan on my 2-story house, and I used that money to buy the 1-story house. My mother wanted to go on the house with me, and she saw it during escrow, loved it, and she offered to go on it with me. My mortgage brokers, Sharon and Brad Pfeiffer, they said that would save me $330 a month on my payment by my mom going on the house. And they countrywide approved this for the loan because my mom was going to live there. And so they told us, open a joint account at Downey Savings, add your mom on your purchase contract in escrow. So we did that. My 2-story money equity went in the joint account with my mom, none of her money. And then I bought the 1-story with my money by wiring it from the bank and wrote on the wire transfer the 2-story address, equity loan from my 2-story address with the address, and faxed that, wired the money, and said it was my 2-story house equity. So I'm just saying all these things, as my readings say, gang stalkers frame targeted individuals secretly without them knowing. And then nobody asks the person, how'd you buy your house, or was your mom on your house, or what'd you sell your 2-story for? Nobody asks a question. Reading says they just run around framing people, lying about everything they do. And that's what gang stalkers do to targeted individuals. And so I bought the house in May '05, closed escrow June '05. Then I used $40,000 of my 2-story equity from Downey Savings to update the house to get it ready to live in. Then I bought $3,000 in furniture, and I spent my money I planned to spend on the house for our family home with the perfect floor plan for my 2 daughters and my mother and I. Now, after moving in, and then I sold the 2-story and paid off the money I borrowed from it to buy the 1-story at the close of escrow with my seller proceeds. Now, as I said, I had very few showings, very few calls on the house, even though it was in the LA Times newspaper, it was on Realtor.com, sign out front, and you name it. It was very slow. My reading says gang stalkers stole my calls that were to sell my own house, my 2-story. They were trying to stop me from selling it. My readings say they were framing me to a CPS secret court by lying about me, a longtime sober AA lady who did nothing wrong, an overnice parent who hates hitting and spanking, who's sober in AA since February 9th, 1985. Reading says gang stalkers were framing me, planning to steal my 2-story house equity. Reading says they frame parents and lie by stealing their phone calls by bugging phones to lessen their income. Then they lie the parent doesn't make enough to cover their bills or provide, when I paid $7,000 a month in bills for years as a single mom real estate agent and provided very well and made a great living. And anyway, Reedy says they tell these lies about the mothers they target to lie they have to get a hold of finances to rob their money. That's to rob their business income. That's to rob their equity from their homes and their mail, you name it. They do this to rob them blind by lying about them secretly without them knowing. And my readings have said 1,000,000 times over, they did this to me. And readings say they stopped up my calls to sell my own house I listed March '05. Now, I had very few buyers or realtors. I did not have real estate agents showing the house. They were not calling. My phone should have rang off the hook. My reading said I had 7 offers. They stopped up that I never got, and that I would have sold it for about $780,000 right away with multiple offers. The gang stalkers were stealing my calls for our family home I listed. And guess what? It sold the day the power was off. In the city of Westlake Village, the power was off. And that's when the buyer and realtor came knocking on the door and I sold it. Gee, is that a coincidence? I think not. They couldn't bug their call. They couldn't call. There was no power that day. No phone power, probably. The lights, I couldn't turn the lights on in the house. They literally knocked on the door and bought the house. Why? Because the gang stalkers couldn't stop them from seeing it. Because they didn't know. That's why. That seems pretty logical to me. Slow, and it sells the day the power's off. That's God's will. That was God working in my life, bringing a buyer when the power was off. My reading says they cost me about $50,000 on the 2-story house. That I would have sold it for $780,000 right away. And anyway, that's what my reading says. So, and that's a fact. The buyers knocked on the door, and I sold it for $750,000 and a $10,000 credit back. So I would have made $50,000 more. My readings say on the house in '05. And anyway, when the escrow closed on the 2-story, I paid off the swing loan I borrowed from it to buy the 1-story in escrow with my seller proceeds. As I was a real estate agent, selling and buying my own properties, so I knew how to do these things. I knew to get a swing loan on the 2-story to buy another house, and then you pay it off when your listed house you own closes escrow. It's very simple. It's all on the escrow